It takes less than 2 seconds. No words, no aggression, no visible threat. Just someone standing still in a room, and everyone around them quietly shifts. 38 studies found that brief, silent exposure to a person is enough to shape judgments about competence, authority, and whether they are safe to challenge. This is the psychology of intimidation without a word, and it starts with signals most people never realize they are sending. In 1992, social psychologists Nalini Ambady and Robert Rosenthal published a meta-analysis examining how humans evaluate one another. They analyzed 38 studies focused on what they termed thin slicing, the cognitive process of extracting social judgments from brief, silent windows of behavior. What they discovered challenged traditional views on human communication. Observers did not need long conversations or detailed backgrounds to assess a target. Instead, silent exposures lasting under 30 seconds yielded evaluations that correlated strongly with actual, objective outcomes. The overall predictive accuracy reached an effect size of R equals 0.39, revealing a clear relationship between immediate impressions and objective criteria. This rapid evaluation functions as an evolutionary shortcut. When encountering a stranger, the brain operates as an automatic judge, processing a dense cluster of physical information before a single word is spoken. The calm subject becomes a readable pattern of physical geometry, the angle of the head, the orientation of the torso, the stillness of the face, and the exact pace of movement combine to form a single signal. An expanded posture, where the body occupies its surrounding space with unhurried composure, registers as an immediate indicator of status and authority. Conversely, a contracted frame communicates a desire to minimize presence. This silent ledger of cues provides the observer with everything needed to calculate competence, power, and social standing in the span of a single breath. When an individual exhibits low affective reactivity, observers rarely interpret the quietness as passivity or weakness. Instead, the human brain employs the competence heuristic, translating external stillness into an assumption of high capability. Visible physiological markers include steady, rhythmic breathing, a relaxed facial musculature, and controlled, deliberate gestures. These signal that a person possesses complete command over their internal state. An observer's brain automatically decodes these signs of self-regulation. Rapid movements, twitching, and constant fidgeting betray systemic arousal, suggesting the nervous system is overwhelmed by the immediate environment. Conversely, minimal physical motion, steady gaze stability, and a neutral facial expression suggest cognitive organization and structural composure. This neutral face, far from indicating disinterest or coldness, conveys emotional restraint and analytical focus, signaling that the individual is actively processing information rather than reacting to it. Observers naturally assume that someone capable of regulating their own emotional response is equally equipped to manage external challenges. This projection of internal stability forms the foundation of quiet authority, proving that emotional containment often commands far more influence than loud performative display. During this instantaneous encounter, the observer's brain runs a parallel three-part appraisal, sorting the silent subject along the axes of threat, competence, and authority. Because these evaluations occur in milliseconds, they register as raw intuition. This split-second processing accounts for 70 to 80% of an initial social impression. It reveals that presence is an active construct of the observer's mind, a subjective projection rather than an objective physical trait. The exact same physical cue lands differently depending on the environment. A static, unyielding stance in a corporate negotiation signals competence and restraint, while that same posture in a casual setting registers as cold or detached. These rapid calculations are heavily modulated by the observer's own social status, prior experiences, and cultural scripts. Prolonged, direct gaze serves as a marker of confidence in Western professional settings, yet it frequently indicates hostility or defiance in many East Asian cultures. Because individual differences and situational context continuously reshape these perceptions, silent intimidation is never a universal property. It exists entirely in the transaction between the person observing and the person being observed, showing how the mind converts silent geometry into social meaning. Inside a corporate boardroom, the mechanics of unhurried presence alter the balance of power. When a negotiator meets demands with silence and relaxed eye contact, the counterpart experiences pressure to fill the empty space. This stillness indicates that the negotiator remains unswayed by the emotional temperature of the room, forcing the other side to reevaluate their position. In a performance review, this same behavioral containment shifts the relationship between manager and employee. When a supervisor delivers difficult feedback with a neutral face and controlled breathing, the message loses its personal hostility. The employee receives the critique as fair, objective feedback. Because the manager lacks visible defensive triggers, the friction of the correction dissolves, leaving only the facts. On a public stage, before a speaker delivers an opening line, composure establishes authority. An audience evaluates a presenter within seconds of their arrival. A steady, expanded stance and a slow, purposeful walk to the center of the platform signal self-regulation, priming the crowd to grant credibility before the speech begins. This dynamic operates with equal force during casual encounters, such as a disagreement in a cafe. When a customer raises their voice, a low reactive response from a staff member shifts the entire exchange. By maintaining a relaxed posture and soft eye contact, the employee prevents the natural escalation cycle. Bystanders interpret this lack of reactivity as complete self-control, neutralizing the customer's emotional leverage. Each of these settings carries distinct social expectations, modifying how observers decode the exact same physical cues. Composed stillness projects analytical precision in one room and protective de-escalation in another. The impact of a silent frame is never static. It is defined by the context of interaction. An illustrative corporate negotiation highlights how these nonverbal mechanics diverge in practice. In the first scenario, a negotiator faces a demanding counterpart by retaining a calm, expanded posture, maintaining a steady gaze, categorized in behavioral science as Action Unit 61, and regulating their breathing to a slow, diaphragmatic rhythm. The face remains relatively neutral, showing only subtle lip compression. This absence of defensive reactivity signals systemic self-regulation. By refusing to mirror the counterpart's agitation, the negotiator projects cognitive containment. The counterpart does not register a threat, but instead experiences a subconscious pull to respect the negotiator's competence. This quiet presence establishes authority, securing influence through clarity and composure. In the mirrored version of this same encounter, a negotiator attempts to secure the upper hand through active dominance. This approach relies on physical tension and overt threat signals. The body leans forward, the shoulders stiffen, and the facial muscles contract into a deep brow furrow, known as Action Unit 4, and tightly pressed lips. The gaze becomes a hard, unyielding stare, paired with rapid, forceful hand gestures. While this display immediately captures attention, it triggers the counterpart's threat detection module. The social consequence of this behavioral shift is stark. Instead of recognizing authority, the counterpart's nervous system registers immediate danger, generating defensive resistance. The counterpart closes off, withholding information and preparing to push back. Coercive pressure destroys the openness required for successful negotiation. This contrast reveals the central division in human influence. Force demands attention, but breeds resistance, while quiet containment establishes competence and commands cooperation. Ultimately, true authority operates without hostility, proving that the quietest presence in the room is often the most formidable. True authority rarely needs to raise its voice. In an era dominated by performative noise, quiet self-possession remains our most potent shield. The ultimate leverage belongs not to the loudest in the room, but to the one who masterfully controls the silence. Share your perspective in the comments.